Yeah, thank you everyone for joining today. Today is just a short session to provide a high-level overview of the Autodesk Forma platform, following the recent announcements that it's now included within the AEC collection. So over the next 60 minutes, we hope to provide some awareness and insight into the Forma platform and the challenges that it hopes to solve. We've got a short demonstration from the Autodesk team. We then have David Wood from Chapman Taylor, who's going to do a short presentation about how they've used the SpaceMaker Forma platform. We'll then hand over to Daniel Giddens, who's going to talk about his role at Symetri, the Forma user group, and how Symetri can help support you in your use of Forma. Okay, Anouk, over to you.
Great, thank you, John. Let me share my screen and start with a short marketing video of Forma, just to give you an overall impression, and then I will jump into the presentation.
Welcome to Autodesk Forma, the cloud-based planning and design software that helps architects and planners answer the big questions. How do we make the cities of tomorrow? Make sustainable neighborhoods? Make deadlines on time and on budget? Make sure increasingly complex projects make it over the line? How do we make sure architects keep making their mark? Forma puts data-driven insights at your fingertips, helping you make fast, smart decisions while designing. Because when you make use of better inputs, it makes for better outcomes. So when you ask, how can we maximize the sunlight? Forma makes it possible to shed light on your project from every angle. How loud is the noise from traffic and rail? Listen to what the data is telling you. Can fresh air reach every corner of every space? With the right data, making quick changes is a breeze. How do you explore more options for every site? Make and make over in real time. And then, make spaces that work for everyone. Need to collaborate and share with multiple parties? Cloud-based projects invite input from all sides, making collaboration a walk in the park. Want to raise the bar on sustainability? It's easy being greener when you can make changes in an instant. Forma is ready to empower and accelerate your processes so you can start making projects digitally from day one. Make, test, and streamline your planning and designs. Autodesk Forma. Make tomorrow's cities. Make anything.
Okay, thank you. And again, welcome everybody to this Forma First Offering webinar. We have this webinar in collaboration with Symetri, and today we will talk about Forma. First, quickly, our safe harbor statement, which says basically not based upon future plans and developments, but I will skip this part and move over to the agenda. So today we will start a little bit talking about the industry trends, introducing Forma and the vision we have with Forma. We will talk about the first offering. So what is Forma at this moment and what are the benefits for you as a customer? And of course, in the demo, we will show you how you can use Forma. We will talk about the commercial details. And of course, there is some time for questions as well. But first, the industry trends. So as you all must know, the industry is continuously changing and faster than ever before. And this changing industry asks for new ways of working. The demand for projects is extremely high, and at the same time, the projects are increasing in scope and complexity. Also, the availability of cloud computing has accelerated digitalization, which has led to increased change in AI technology. And of course, the reality of remote work means collaboration and data sharing is more important than ever before. Current workflows we see are very fragmented, and you have to deal with a huge number of file formats, poor interoperability, and siloed data. While modeling capabilities have expanded, existing processes are still very manual, and designers struggle to use tools that generate a high level of detail, since this leads to dealing with desktop files and installed software. We think this doesn't really match with today's hybrid and collaborative work environment. At this moment, we see that productivity suffers while it should instead be providing more efficiency. Our view is that the best place to begin to improve these fragmented processes is at the beginning of a project, so in the early stage. When design is the most fluid, architects and planners have to make choices quickly. These decisions have lasting consequences all the way through the operational phase of a building. So we need to increase efficiency, stimulate collaboration, and free up your time. And for this, Autodesk has invented Forma. So let's start with our long-term vision with Forma. While this vision will take longer to become reality, our intent of Forma is to eventually expand across the whole AEC industry. This means our long-term objective is to develop Forma as the industry cloud for our industry, to unify BIM workflows across the teams that design, build, and operate the built environment, and to enable data to flow seamlessly through the whole workflow. So we see Forma as the future of our work. The journey to realize Forma starts in the planning and early stage design of your projects, but over time we will add more capabilities to ultimately deliver the unified AECO cloud. So what is our plan then with Forma over time? We start with data, building the critical data infrastructure, the data backbone. And then it's about building new Forma capabilities to unlock value from that data. With Forma, we start at the beginning of a project in the planning phase and over time expand to detailed design, construction, and operations. And as we expand, sustainability and driving an open ecosystem will be at the center of the approach. As long as we'll connect existing product capabilities to the data backbone, we will other Autodesk offers and third-party applications. So let's dive into the capabilities that are included in Forma today. So with Forma, you are able to onboard in just hours with access to advanced capabilities and insights. You can evaluate proposals with a huge set of factors like sun, wind, noise, and views. And you're working in the cloud as you can work fluidly between Forma and Revit. So what are the 5 values Forma delivers today? You are able to start a new project in just a few clicks, and Forma will import data from different data sets, or you can import data sets manually. Once a project is set up, there will be no limits to your creativity because with advanced modeling tools based upon Formit, you'll be able to create 3D designs in just minutes. And with automations, we will help you work more efficient. So through simple parametric tools, Forma will automate repetitive tasks and help you free up time. And at the same time, it will give you to draw a proposal. Forma will make it possible to develop more than a dozen. And with machine learning based analysis, you are no longer dependent on support from a technical specialist or wait week for a report from someone. You'll be at the driver's seat getting real-time insights as you are designing. And with the interoperability part, we make it possible to have a fluid interaction between Forma and Revit, but also back from Revit to Forma. So what are the potential benefits for you as a customer? What is the value that Forma can bring you? We think Forma helps you drive business growth by winning more bids and competitions. We think Forma improves efficiency by automating manual tasks. And we enable improved collaboration between both internally as well as with colleagues or your customers. Forma helps the end user in their day-to-day work by giving them the insights they need to reduce these risks and make better decisions. We will help you free up time and it will help you bring along stakeholders. So now I will hand over to Evan to show you a demo in Forma.
Great. And I'll be showing a quick demo of how the Forma first offering looks. If you have any comments, any questions, any feedback, please add it to the chat. We have set aside time for questions later, so we can also take it there. Okay. First, I'm going to need verbal confirmation that you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So this is what we want to end up with today. This is a proposal that we made. It took us all of, I think, 30 minutes to do. Now it's here. It's in a correctly geolocated setting with a lot of data built in, and we've run some analysis on it, and we can see that it's a really good proposal, all within 30 minutes work. The demo today is not going to be 30 minutes, so I'll sketch something quickly similar, but this is where we want to end up. So a typical workflow starts by logging in. It's not a desktop tool. It's native to the cloud with all the benefits you know from that. So anything you make is updated live and instantly to everybody you're collaborating with. Anything we make, any updates we do, and we do those constantly, are live in product the minute we publish. So you always have update to the most, or access to the most up-to-date version of Forma. You just click to log in, and you're taken to your home screen. And as you can see, it's a great place to get overview of what your team is working on. You can get a lot of more information. You can do some discover tours to figure out how to use Forma the best. All your recent projects are here, and all the project members for the different projects can be added to the left. What we want to do today is create a new project. Then we want to design a little bit on it, do some analysis, and then choose what would be the best of the options we have. And let's see if we can do that. Let's pretend it's, well, we don't even have to pretend. Let's say it is Wednesday, right after lunch. You need to start a new project now to have something to show for a meeting tomorrow. Can we do that without the coffee getting cold? So what we want to do is you click create new project here. You select the country, you select the project name, and what folder you want to add it to, and then just click next. So let's do that. I'm going to do a project in Denmark today. Almost anything you see would be completely the same as it would be in the UK or anywhere else. Clicking next takes me to something like this, and I'm sure you already know what to do. You type in an address, right? I'm going to design a new office for myself. The one I have, I like, but maybe I can do even better. And so what I'm going to do, choose the address, zoom out to an area of the city that makes sense to me to make my model. This is 2 kilometers square. I can go up to 4 kilometers square if I want to. Then I have most of central Copenhagen. You could get pretty large sites with this, but there is a limit. After confirming my area, that's where the fun happens. So because we have partnered with a lot of great data providers, a lot of data flows directly into Forma. We've set up something called the data marketplace, and we will be adding more data providers to this as time goes on. This is taking a little bit too long to load today, so I'll just jump into it. In 30 seconds, you would get something like this. So this is just the landscape, but I can always go in and add more data, either something I import or something I order. So mind you, these are publicly available data that we have partnered with, and so it's instantly available within Forma. I can add my property boundaries, I can add buildings, roads, terrain. Terrain is already loaded in. I can also get flat terrain if the terrain I have access to is not that great. Maybe I just want to start sketching something, and then I can worry about terrain later. The way to order data is to just click on it, select the area you want the data for, and order it in. And then the next step is, let's filter these so we only see the data orders, is to click on them and say, okay, let's place some buildings in our canvas. What does that look like? Well, that looks pretty good. I know I want to be working on this area today, so I'll exclude these from my selection and just add them. And like that, You know, I don't know how you normally do it. I know when I used to do projects like these, this could take me a few days to do. And I think we're at the 3-minute mark, and we already have something pretty solid to sketch upon. And I would do the same for the rest of these. And then there are great ways to add even more detail. So I could import or change anything you see here if I have access to better quality data. I can also continue sketching within Forma. So I can add trees, I can add my site limits, maybe some zones for analysis or working. I could add constraints that are on the site. Maybe the municipality has some local constraints there. Roads and rails as noise sources, and any geometry that I would need at this stage. Now, as in the baking shows, I have cheated, so I've already done that here. And that's what it looks like. So very quickly added some trees, both because it looks nice, but also because they affect my analysis. I've added a large circular zone here because I'm going to use that as the offset for my analysis later. I've drawn a bounding box for the maximum height I'm allowed to build in this part of town. And what you don't see is I've added data to these roads. So I know now how much noise is generated by them when I run my analysis later. That was it. Project setup. It's correctly geolocated. It has temperature data, wind data, everything I need to run my analysis at a later stage. I hope that was quicker than what you normally do. We're already ready to start sketching. And so there are, of course, loads of different ways of doing that. And I'll show you some of them today. We won't have time for everything, but let's hide these constraints so we see what we're working with. I mean, the first thing you can do, if you're not really into learning another software for sketching, you can just import from whatever software you normally use. So if you have a good proposal from somewhere else, import it, have a look at it, run the analysis, see how it works. If it works as intended, you can continue editing here, you can add floors here. But of course, if you want the full output, it's better or easier to just design it in Forma. So let's look at some ways you can do that. The first is what we call our basic building tool. And it's called basic, but there's nothing basic about it. It's a very powerful tool for getting massing and instant square footage right off the bat. We can do it another way, even quicker. And you can see, yes, I have massing. Yes, I have square footage. I can also very quickly go in and say, this is residential, this is commercial, and this can be added to or mixed and matched as much as I need to meet the client brief. I can add some line buildings to this. For those of you who know Revit, I can align my line with the different sides. For this one, I'm going to do a line right. I'm going to find my top floor here. And then I'm going to draw something that's aligned to this building. I could do the same with my site limit if I needed something to be very precise. I could also do it on top of an imported DXF if that was important to me. So you can see very quickly you can get some things in. What's completely new to Forma is the 3D sketch tool. A lot of architects have been asking for this, and we're super happy that we've been able to build this on top of Formit IP. So for those of you who know Formit, or even for those of you who know SketchUp or Rhino or any other 3D tool, you'll be familiar with how this works. So let's say super quickly, let's add a cube. Let's pull it, just extrude a little bit and see what we get, right? Let's give it the same height as this one. It's as easy as that, but we now have access to much more detailed tools than we ever had before in a drawing, when drawing like this. So you can see very quickly, I can get some shapes going. I can really sort of draw and sketch. Completely freehand, a lot more advanced tools here. So I think the only limitation right now is the client budget and your imagination. And these are pretty awesome because you can actually run full analysis on them, right? So it's not just a fun shape. It's actually something you can add floors to get full area stats out of. And it's something you can go in the program and say, what is this building actually used for? And then you can run analysis on it as if it had been built in the real world. So some pretty powerful sketching tools there. The next quick thing we want to look at is how automations can help us deliver better with Forma. Let's take a building like this one, for instance. Notice I have something called floor plan here. And I can click on that and I'll see both the floor plan, I'll see all the floor plans, and I'll see it in 3D. And it is as simple as it looks. I can start sketching maybe a core in the middle here. I'll say it is a core. This floor plate is so deep, I'm sure it's an office building. So let's segment it into 2 parts. Let's copy that to the entire building. And then that was a little bit extreme. Let's make a roof terrace on this part. So notice I have the full overview all the way through while I'm designing and working. And I can always go in and get more information when I need it. So it's a great way to make sure that what I'm designing stays on track for the outcome that I want. I can do the same on line buildings, where I can also add circulation if I want it. Or I can go in and work on each and every different apartment type, and it will copy all the way around. Last thing I want to show you here on our automations is our parking tool. So just click the floors you want, add parking, and then you're able to do a lot of options on the size, width, placement, etc. of your parking to quickly get an overview of how much space you take up, how many spots you have, and if it's efficient enough. Now, this is one of those things that I really, really like. So let's say we've spent a little more time refining this. I've gotten a proposal here that looks like something the developer might be happy with. This is when we test it. And so what I quickly want to do is look at, do I have any issues here? And just, normally I would go in here, I would look at the analysis and say, yes, we looked at the area metrics. I can look at sun hours. I can look at daylight potential, wind, microclimate, which is getting more and more important. Cities like London expect this to be a major issue much sooner than anticipated. I can look at operational energy or noise. So for this one, I've clicked my way through them, and I can see I have some issues with wind. This area along the harbor front, which should be the best part of the project, it's not a place that anybody would want to sit, maybe not even stand. That's not great. And I can see why. I can see it's because the wind coming from the west is gaining traction along the facades. So then I need to think as an architect. And I invite you to do the same. What will you do to solve this? Because that's how it works. You see something, you fix it. So what I did was I made an option B. I revised my proposal slightly. I've broken the facade a little bit to break the wind. And you can see much better, big improvement on the wind situation here. It costs my developer a little more to make these setbacks, but it is a great bonus to the city, and it's also a great bonus to my developer because they now have this great outdoor area where they can have restaurants, where they can have commercial space, much more valuable than this windswept area here. And just to make sure that I don't have any other sort of traps waiting for me in this project, I can look at the sun analysis, for instance, for the entire year. And I can quickly go in and check if this is so important out here. Do I have enough sun hours? Yes, that looks good all year. These courtyards, well, most people are going to be inside at this stage anyway in January. In summer, it looks great. And I can share this both with my developer. I can also share it with my municipality and see, See, I might have added more square footage than was intended, but I'm still being a good neighbor. That's a great way to get your proposal swiftly through, or at least have a discussion that's based on facts and data. Now, if this was the proposal I wanted to continue working with, what I could do is I could save a camera position and export this with all the information you're seeing here. So that's one way of continuing working with it. The other way is through something that's very exciting that we've been looking at, and that's how data can flow from Forma to other programs. So what we've done is we've added a third-party ecosystem to all parts of our product. What that's going to mean for you? Well, right now, we're working on a closed beta Rhino integration for conceptual design. Live in product is a test fit automation for parking on ground. There's also a live integration for making Shape Diver work within Forma to make scripts to program building shapes. And lastly, we've integrated with Revit to make sure that everything you make in Forma can flow fluidly into a BIM solution. I don't know about you, but I know that a lot of times I've made great, really detailed models that I've spent hours and hours and hours on making in some 3D sketching software. The moment I needed to travel to another phase, I need to completely redo it. With Forma, everything you make in Forma actually gets a higher level of detail once you move it to Revit. So data is not lost, it's actually created by moving to the next stage. And we can look at how that looks very quickly here. So this is the model in Forma, and you can see it's pretty detailed, at least the parts closest to our proposal. This is an earlier proposal sent to Revit with a lower level of detail. And so how do I get my new proposal into Revit? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the three dots, and first I'll need to download the Revit add-in. That's the only time I need to do something with files. Once that's installed, I just click Send to Revit. Then I go to Revit and load my proposal in. And you can see I can have it create more details than I sent from Forma. It's going to check that it's the right proposal that it's trying to send, because Revit can take a time loading, especially because you get landscape, topography, and the image of the site mapped onto it. That takes a little bit of time. So as you can see, very quickly, I can get information in. I can get it as volumetric boxes, but I can also get it as floors, walls. So higher level than what I sent, which is pretty interesting. I can get my units out if I need that. And I will both keep my real geolocation and the Revit 0 point. What I can do now is I can continue working on it, really update it, really refine it, and then I can send it back to Forma. So that allows me to, even if my project didn't start in Forma, I can run advanced analysis that normally would be the purvey of very few people in the office on complex projects by a few clicks. So I really think the integrations are something that's going to be interesting. That was what I had from me. I hope that was interesting.
Great, thank you, Evan. Maybe David, you want to take over from here?
Okay, thanks, Anouk. Let me just share my few slides that I have. Okay, are we? Can we see those screen?
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, my name's David Wood, and I look after the digital design teams here at Chapman Taylor. And Autodesk and Symetri have invited me here today to talk about our successful adoption of SpaceMaker, which has now been rebranded as Forma. We're an international practice of architects, master planners and designers. We have 15 studios and about 450 staff worldwide. We do quite a range of work. I've picked out a couple of relevant examples just to illustrate our responsible design project in Wenceslas Square in Prague in the Czech Republic. And then to illustrate our master planning work, this is the Chong'an New Area Master Plan, which is a competition-winning scheme for a new urban area south of Beijing in China. In Digital Design Team, we're always looking for new software that can improve our design processes. And we need to think about that at different scales and stages, whether that's at the urban scale or the scale of an individual building or getting into the details, and whether that's at early stage during design development or at design delivery. And we've been tracking two particular types of software for early stage site scale design. First is generative design tools, where you can generate multiple different options for designs on a site based on different criteria. And then environmental analysis tools, where you can analyze the environmental performance of a proposal against various criteria. Very simplistically, the idea being that you can generate a bunch of designs for a site and then pick the option that performs best. And in that way, maybe carry out a more effective, more complete exploration of the design space, the solution space. It's a big, burgeoning marketplace. There are lots of different tools out there that combine these two approaches, from handwritten scripts in Grasshopper or Dynamo through to suites of production quality software. We've looked at quite a few over the past several years, including SpaceMaker, but none of them really caught on with any of our design teams. But finally, last October, there was a spark of interest. One of our teams had started using a SketchUp-based tool for early stage site planning, and also tried a commercial wind analysis tool for estimating pedestrian comfort. Neither of the tools was perfect. The SketchUp-based tool was really too limited for our needs, and the wind analysis tool was really powerful, but too powerful for our needs and very slow. So the team was in the market for something else, and we came back to looking at SpaceMaker again. Now, at that time, Autodesk and Symetri were keen to support a proof of concept. We managed to get a bit of enthusiasm around the proof of concept in-house, with participation from all our 3 UK studios and 4 of our international studios, which meant we got good awareness across the group. Not everyone was able to join every session, but we had enough people trying and using the software to be able to gauge whether or not it would work for us, and whether people, critically, would actually adopt it on live projects. So on SpaceMaker, forerunner to Forma, pros and cons. The advantages were its ease of adoption. Very easy to get started, as Evan demonstrated. You get very quick results. The graphics you get are clear. You can use them directly in reports. The challenges we had were coordinates, your data, your the data you bring in has to be geolocated. So if you have a site survey, you need to know the coordinates that we use to generate that site survey in DXF or CAD or whatever. The context data, Evan showed some great context data there. It varies depending on the location in the world you're working on. And project scale, we found some of our projects, this SpaceMaker Forma works well up to a point. As Evan mentioned, the 4-kilometer limit. Some of our projects are bigger than that, and for those we had to find workarounds. Adoption. Well, over the subsequent months, several studios have gone ahead and purchased licenses of SpaceMaker. We've used it on quite a few projects since then. I can't show you anything, but we've been pleased with the results, particularly the way that the teams have been able to integrate their use of SpaceMaker Forma with their normal design processes and get good results that support their standard methods. So it's integrated rather than an extra time-consuming step. And now, of course, SpaceMaker has become Forma. The benefits, we suddenly have many more licenses because every license of AEC collection gets a Forma. Fantastic. There's better integration from Revit to Forma and back, which we did have a session with the SpaceMaker design team about that integration and get them some feedback, and that seems to have come through in the product, so that's great. And judging by today's presentation, the future is positive for Forma. It will be developed in the future. Let's hope so. The downsides for us, the user interface has changed. It's different. It's not better or worse, it's just different. Some of the tools are now missing that we used, but hey ho, maybe they'll get redeveloped in the future, apparently so. And the rebranding, you know, we've been used to talking about SpaceMaker internally, and now we have to talk about, oh no, it's not SpaceMaker, it's Forma. But hey, we live and learn. So that's me finished, and now I will hand over to Daniel.
Hi everyone, I'll just share my screen very quickly. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Perfect. Okay, let's introduce myself. My name is Daniel. I'm a consultant at Symetri. I have a background in architecture, and I've been with Symetri for nearly 2 years now, formerly Microdesk. We were acquired about this time last year. So me and my friend Martin, who's the BIM manager at Colin Pedersen Fox in London, we'd worked together for a few years, and we had just over lunchtime, we were just having a catch up, and we'd both been using SpaceMaker independently at the time. This was before the rebranding of Forma. Martin, I'm not sure if you were, he's one of the founding members of the Dynamo user group. We got to talking about perhaps resurrecting that, and then we decided perhaps we should have a SpaceMaker user group, and we laughed at the prospect of having smug on our t-shirts, SpaceMaker user group. We got in touch with Autodesk because we thought, you know, actually this would be a great idea. We'd like to move forward with this. And unfortunately, Autodesk decided to rebrand it Forma, and we were no longer able to have our smug t-shirts, but we were delighted anyway that they wanted to help us. So Wednesday last week, we had the inaugural Forma user group in central London at Autodesk's office in Covent Garden. We had a really good turnout. And moving forward, we'll be setting up more sessions, and the idea, it's very, very informal. People can present and just show the work that they've done, just any insights they want to share with people. But equally, if you're completely new to Forma, we would love you to come along as well. It's a place for learning as well as sharing. So how can Symetri help? So obviously we are a platinum partner with Autodesk. We have I'm the Forma lead at the moment for Symetri UK, and I've developed with my colleagues a introductory course for Forma. So if you are interested in learning more about it and you would like the opportunity to have an extended learning period, sit down with an instructor and properly figure the tool out, we have developed a course that will be released in the next coming months. This is just a course outline. This is true at the time of writing it, but obviously Forma, there's an awful lot of development going on. A lot of people at Autodesk developing it. So this may be subject to change. I'm anticipating we'll be adding to it because they're adding to Forma on what seems like on a monthly basis at the moment. So just to enroll, you can give us a call, book online, or you can just get in touch with me as well. Just my contact details will be in the chat. And that's everything from me. Just thank you very much also for attending. And I think I'll hand back over to Anouk to wrap up and for the Q&A. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Daniel. I hope everything was clear for everybody and we gave a good overview of Forma. It was nice to see so many people participating. I see the chat is still quite active, but we have some time left to do a Q&A, right, John?
Yeah, absolutely. And just one point I'd make that there's a lot of people on this call. I think there's 72, which we expected 56, so we've done very well. Feel free to kind of reach out to any of your account managers at Symetri. We're working really closely with the Forma team, so we're more than happy to sort of take your feedback back to the team, explore how we might be able to help you use Forma or what the platform needs to do in the future. So certainly keep in contact, and obviously we've got the Forma user group, so we hope to see you there. There's a few questions in the chat here. I think we've answered most of them as they've come in, but if anyone else has got anything else, feel free.
So the links to the Forma user group, we've had the first session. We're setting up a landing page for it. So there'll be a separate dedicated page where we'll communicate information, and that will be coming in the next couple of months.
I'm sorry, I'm joining a bit late, but I've attended your session a few days ago in Autodesk building off Strand. And based on that, I was curious as for your analytical tools like wind and noise, are the data, the constrained data, are they geolocated? Would the wind be part of that geographical location? Would the noise be based on the street map or something like that?
Yeah, great question. So for wind, temperature, sun, and daylight, it's based on geolocation. So it's where you set up your site impacts that. And for wind, you can actually go in and see what's the station on the global wind atlas that has been used. Is it close enough for me, or should we do another analysis? Or if I can see that's on the opposite side of a row of tall buildings, right? Let's say, should that sort of factor in when I look at my wind analysis? But be mindful that that would be the same for anybody else looking at wind. Like that would be the best data they have, right? For analysis in general, anything you need to know about them, once you're sort of in analysis mode, you can click on the question mark and you can get to learn more. So you can see the full documentation on how it's calculated and how we do it. And that's, you can print that out and share it with anybody who asks how it's done. For noise, that's the only one that's not plug and play. So everything else, as soon as you set up your site, you're good to go. For noise, you'll have to draw a road or a rail, and you have to add data to that road or rail. And that data is how much traffic and how fast. That's it. You can add more details if you want to, you don't have to. And that's used as a base for calculation. We've seen with that, as we've done with all our analysis, they have been compared to, single analysis platforms independently, and we've seen that they are on par with those. For this level of information, it is an early stage design tool.
Great. Great.
So
Thank you.
great.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Yeah, I have two quick questions based on experience with the SpaceMaker trial. So the
Yeah.
first one is about the two types of analysis. I remember in SpaceMaker you got the rapid analysis and you got the kind of like full analysis. So the question is like how does current analysis stand against that? Is that the full analysis or something in between? The second question is about getting in mesh models from Rhino, so particularly for the context. So I know at SpaceMaker it was in beta, and some analysis did work, some didn't, really work fully. So kind of like you could get the soil shading on the vertical surfaces, but not on a ground. And there was also something with the noise analysis where I remember it was simplifying the model. So I was just thinking, how does it work? Has that been changed or is still the same? Yeah. So
Great.
that's it. Thanks.
Also a really good question. So for the question of quick or full analysis, before all the analysis were, or a lot of analysis were quick and you can get all of them as full. That has shifted slightly right now because we just launched, right? So we have some that are still in quick analysis, wind, noise, sun, daylight, right? And that's a pretty good overlap with what was there before. You can run all the analysis as full analysis, except for noise right now. So that's something we're working on, but it's not there yet. For your question about importing something from Rhino, let's break that up into two parts. One is complex geometry, and since we've you can do much more complex geometry in Forma than you ever could in SpaceMaker, so the analysis support that now, and that's also why we're sort of reworking the noise calculation, because it has to figure out how to do that somehow. From imports, we are actually working on right now it's closed beta integration with Rhino. So if all goes well, that's why Anouk showed the sort of future statement. If all goes well, that's something that will be added to the products, and you will have a live link the same way you just saw with Revit.
Perfect. Thank you.
We have
Francisco?
another Francisco, yeah.
Hi guys.
Hey.
Thank you very much for the meeting. It was very, very interesting. I have a quick question about the UK database. You reply in the chat that the information is available for the UK. What's the source for land and building?
Yeah, you know what?
And how accurate that information? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go right in and find that because I just had it open, but now I closed it. But as a general rule, I can say that.
I also posted a link in the chat that gives an overview of all the data sources, like globally, that can be helpful, not only for UK. I don't know if that covers your.
Yeah, so I can. So for UK and Northern Ireland, you can see the terrain is from the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. For some reason, I'm sure that makes sense to you. There is no traffic data, there is no property boundaries, and there is no road data automatically available. So you'll have to draw or import those. For building data, there's OpenStreetMap, and for map texture and satellite images, it's Mapbox. Okay. And then for wind, it's Global Wind Atlas. And we can actually jump into that now. I can show you I'll share my screen again and you can see. So for instance, I mean, this is a UK project. I'm sure you sort of recognize this, right? And what I've done here is like the first base I got in, let's see. No, it doesn't really. Sorry, it's because I moved these to my. These needs to move to my base. I'll do that first. So, well, this is the end state, right? So here I've gotten better data. Move to base. Good. So here I've gotten better data imported from somewhere else. It took me, all of 5 minutes to do it, but I needed to have it somewhere else. Let's see. That was a little bit too heavy to do live, but what I will say is when I got this in, terrain was not great, buildings was not great, right? As you can see, like my buildings are just 3 meters flat, placed correctly, but the heights are not great. And my terrain sort of looked a little bit wobbly. It's not difficult to fix, but I need to have a model or data to fix it. If I didn't have that, I would do flat terrain. That's always an option. I would import the buildings, and then I would sort of push-pull the ones that were closest to my site that would actually affect my analysis the most to the correct heights. And I can always find those, for instance, via Google Earth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's cool. I have a look at the link that your colleague sent before, and yeah, it's very well explained on each country what the sources are coming from. So it's clear.
Great.
Thank you.
Great.